My wife wanted to end our child's life. Not because of money, not because of health, but so she could carry the bloodline of her first love. When my mother, desperate and trembling, knelt before her and begged, she wasn't met with compassion. She was scolded. Julian only had this one wish before he died. My wife said, "Why can't you grant it? You're selfish." The words hit my mother like a physical blow. Her heart gave out, and just like that, she was gone, her last breath laced with resentment. And while my mother lay in the morgue, my wife skipped the funeral to rush into surgery. Alone, by choice. And just before the procedure, she posted on WeChat, "I will paint your dream. I have no regrets in this life for you and for myself." I stared at that post, my hands cold, my face colder. I typed one line, "Since you love him so much, why don't you go be a family with him?" Then I blocked her. I took my mother's ashes to the cemetery. The ceremony wasn't even over when her father called, voice sharp with anger. "It's not Luna's fault," he said. "The baby wasn't developing. You left her to have surgery, alone. Is that what a decent man does? She's been through enough. Enough." She had ended my child's life in secret, twisted the story, and painted me as the villain. I kept my voice steady, even as rage burned in my chest. "Tell Luna the divorce papers are ready. The lawyer will bring them to her." Through the phone, Luna's voice broke into sobs. "This is about a family's bloodline. Can't you be more generous?" Generous. I almost laughed. When she aborted our child, was she thinking of my family's bloodline? Did she think of the little clothes? My mother knitted with aching hands for the grandchild she'd never hold. I didn't argue. I simply said, "If you have a problem with the agreement, talk to my lawyer. I'll see you after you sign." And I hung up. After laying my mother to rest, I packed my bags and left. For years, I had given up everything for Luna, my career, my friends, even my mother. And for what? To live under the rule of someone who saw love as a license to take, and take, and take. The loss of that child, it was like a blade, severing whatever bond was left between us. From that moment on, I decided I would live for myself. In Highshire, I rebuilt from scratch. New company, new team, 20 people strong, millions in business. I worked like a man, starved for air, and for the first time in years, I could breathe. Without Luna, life wasn't empty. It was wide open. The lawyer kept pressing her for the divorce. She kept dodging, so we took it to court. 2 months later, I returned to Shinshan for the hearing. On the way, a friend sent me a screenshot of her WeChat, a picture of Julian, holding flowers, with the caption, "Even if the world doesn't understand, I will still follow my heart." Once, that would have made me furious. Now, it barely touched me. It felt like watching someone else's drama from a distance. Late that night, I opened my front door to find Luna waiting on the sofa, eyes red. "How dare you block me? How dare you disappear for 2 months?" Walked past her without looking. "Do I need to report to you before I block you or leave? Or are you upset I interrupted your love story with Julian?" On the dining table sat a vase of red roses. His roses. I gestured at them. "They're beautiful," I said flatly, "but take them out of my house. My mother hasn't been gone long. Things should stay simple." Her face drained of color. For the first time, I think she realized her part in my mother's death. "Go to bed," I told her. "We have court in the morning." She stared at me, searching for the man who once bent to her every whim. But that man was gone. It was like her mind lived in a world of its own rules, where a child could be kept or discarded depending on her mood. She seemed to forget my mother was living on borrowed time, clinging to every painful breath, swallowing bitter medicine, just to see that baby born. And then, with one decision, Luna crushed the only hope my mother had left. I looked at her, almost laughing at the absurdity. "Did I tell you to have that surgery? You're practically wrapped around Julian. Do you think I'd still want you? I'm not the one calling you dirty, but I sure as hell feel disgusted." The truth was, my mother didn't just die from a bad heart. She died knowing Luna planned to give another man's bloodline a future. Her eyes widened, voice sharp. "Haven't you figured it out? A naturally conceived child is the smartest, healthiest. Since I'm having Julian's baby, I need the best way possible. It was just once or twice. Why do you care so much?" I laughed because the shamelessness was almost artful in my decision. "Hardened. Care. Tomorrow we'll settle everything, and you can give Julian a dozen kids for all I care. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight." My words lit a fuse. She jabbed a finger at me, eyes blazing. "You said it, James. Don't you dare regret it." I thought that would be the end. But the next morning, I opened my eyes to find her climbing into my bed, dressed to seduce. "If you don't like the natural way," she whispered, "I can do artificial insemination. The child will still be yours." It made my stomach turn. I locked myself in the bathroom until the bile passed. When I came out, she'd laid out breakfast beautifully plated, the first she'd ever made in 7 years. Once, I might have been moved to tears. Now, it felt like a performance I didn't buy a ticket for. I brushed past her, made instant noodles and watched her face crumble. "I've already made concessions." She choked. "What else do you want? Just a divorce?" I said coldly. She ran off crying. I didn't follow. Not this time. That day, I visited my mother's grave, then headed to court ready to finally close this chapter. But Luna had one more card to play, a medical report declaring her pregnancy. The judge refused my divorce request. I told them the child wasn't mine. She pulled out a video, grainy but convincing enough, showing her with a man who looked just enough like me to plant doubt. The court didn't care. Outside, she cornered me in the parking lot. Where are you going? I'm pregnant. I need you to take care of me. I turned on her, my voice ice cold. What the hell does that have to do with me? Go find Julian. Her face drained of color. How can you say that? I just want you to stay by my side. It almost made me laugh how she thought one sentence could erase everything. Did she forget? 2 months ago, I was on my knees begging her to keep our child, and she turned me down without a flicker of hesitation. Now she wanted me back. Luna, I said, voice low but sharp, you killed our child. You drove my mother to her grave. And you think you still deserve anything from me? I thought I'd seen the last of her until the receptionist led Luna into my office like a ghost from a nightmare. She was smiling, playful, holding a lunchbox as if we were still the couple we used to be. I was afraid you weren't eating well, she said, almost teasing. So I came to take care of you. Once, I would have melted at that smile. Back then, those little surprises of hers felt like rare treasures, proof that loving her forever might never be enough. But ever since Julian came back into the picture, that smile had disappeared. And now, seeing it again, I didn't feel warmth. I felt cold, nausea, anger. Are you addicted to acting? I snapped, my voice cutting through the moment like glass. Do you think this makes you look like some virtuous wife, a loving mother? I glanced at her stomach. Every word meant a wound. You're carrying another man's child. Even if you don't find that disgusting, I do. Her eyes flickered pain, confusion, but she still tried to reason with me. As your wife, is it so wrong to bring you food? How can you treat me like this? I stepped closer, my words deliberate, heavy. Luna, what exactly do you want? She tugged at my sleeve like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline. I can't live without you. After the baby's born, we can go back to how we were. Please, just the thought of losing you keeps me awake at night. James, have you ever loved me? From start to finish. The answer came sharp, without hesitation. Did you ever think of me when you were under Julian? Her lips trembled. No words came, only silence. I pointed to the untouched lunchbox. Take it away. Stop clinging to meaningless gestures. And then, out of nowhere, she asked the question that caught me off guard. What do I have to do for you to give up on the divorce? I stared at her. There was no answer because I had never even considered giving it up. Not since the day she ended our child's life. Not since she drove my mother to her grave. She must have read the refusal in my silence, because she tried again. What if I abort this child? I almost laughed. There's no what if. The moment you took our child away, we were done. We both knew she'd never do it anyway. Julian's child was her prize, and yet, she cried, sobbing, shaking, saying she'd only wanted to leave a child for Julian. I remembered all the times I had agreed to everything she asked how, on our 5th anniversary, sick with a fever that burned through my bones. I still booked her favorite restaurant, prepared a surprise with my own hands, and sat there alone. She didn't show until the next day. Julian's cat had been sick, she said. That was the night I learned my feelings would never come first on. Now, watching her cry, I felt nothing. I handed her a tissue. Wipe your tears. Yourself, you're pregnant, don't run around. Go back to Xinjiang. She shook her head, hugged me like she could trap me there. Don't send me away. The warmth of her skin, the faint familiar fragrance, it was all still there, but it meant nothing now. I pried her hands off me and walked out without looking back. What I didn't expect was her next move. She took it to the internet. Julian was live, speaking to a reporter. Every frame perfectly tragic. The handsome man battling cancer, the loyal woman by his side, and there she was, Luna, wearing that little white dress he gave her, holding his hand like they were made for each other. The reporter's voice cut in sharp. Miss Luna, Mr. Julian says you aborted your 3. The reporter's question landed like a stone in still water. Miss Luna, Mr. Julian said you aborted a 3-month-old child for him. Is that true? Luna froze, her eyes darting to Julian as if begging for rescue. Julian, you said that, too, and Julian, with that eager, saintly expression he'd perfected for the cameras, nodded. Yes, you've done so much for me. Everyone should know how good you are. Beside them, his parents beamed, showering Luna with praise, calling her a modern-day bodhisattva, a savior of their family's bloodline. It was enough to bring a glisten of tears to her eyes. You really do understand me, she whispered, voice trembling. Then she turned to the camera, gaze steady. Actually, the child wasn't healthy. After discussing it with my family, I made the decision to have the surgery. But my husband, he doesn't understand. He thinks I did it on purpose. He's been trying to divorce me ever since. I know it bothers him. So, I decided to use artificial insemination to leave a descendant for Julian. Her voice cracked. But even then, I couldn't earn his forgiveness. Just a few days ago, even though I was weak, I went to see him, hoping to make peace. But he threw me out of his office. James, if you're watching this, please, think twice. Don't divorce me. I really love you. Julian leaned in, his tone dripping with righteous sincerity. Mr. James, Luna and I are truly innocent. Please don't misunderstand us. She's been crying ever since she came back. I can't bear to see her like this. I could only roll my eyes. Julian had already milked his anti-cancer image for all it was worth. Now, this little performance was just another PR stunt, and Luna, she played right into it. But they'd both forgotten something: netizens aren't fools. Within minutes, comments flooded the stream. Where's the proof? The child wasn't healthy. If it was true, her husband wouldn't object. She's lying. Artificial insemination with another man's child isn't cheating. That's a new level of shameless. Julian's confident mask cracked. He mumbled an excuse and killed the live stream. I didn't waste time. I sent the recording straight to my lawyer. Evidence like this was too good to ignore, but it still caused a storm online. My name got dragged out, and soon everyone knew me as the man whose wife was carrying another man's child. My colleagues, my clients, they all looked at me with that same mix of pity and quiet understanding. So, I posted my own statement.com, unshaken. I'm proceeding with the divorce. I wish them happiness and a quick marriage. Congratulations on their precious child. Not long after, Luna's father called. His voice was urgent. James, Luna's in the hospital. She was so angry with you, she collapsed. You need to come back. I hadn't planned on it. Julian was more than capable of playing the doting partner by her bedside. But with the second trial approaching and strangers sniffing around my property, I packed my bags and went. My lawyer came with me. At the hospital, Luna's father stopped me at the door. His face was tight with disapproval. Luna just had an abortion and is pregnant again. Don't you feel any pity for her at all? I looked him straight in the eye. Uncle, don't you know the child she's carrying isn't mine? He froze. My lawyer took him aside, quietly laying out the truth. The color drained from his face. I'm sorry, James. I didn't know. I didn't respond. I just walked in. Luna's mother was spooning porridge into her mouth when Luna saw me and lit up with manufactured fragility. Husband, the doctor says the embryo isn't stable. The stress from all this cyberbullying might hurt the baby. I nodded flatly. Then rest. Her mother slammed the bowl down. Do you have any idea how much she's suffered since marrying you? When she had the abortion, your own mother had just passed. We understood why you weren't there. But now, she's pregnant again, and you still can't be by her side. Are you even a man? I met her glare without flinching. Auntie, tell me, what man could accept his wife carrying another man's child? She exploded, pointing a trembling finger at me. You can't even keep your wife in line. Who else can you blame? I was done playing nice. I only blame myself for not divorcing her sooner. Maybe then my mother wouldn't have died so angry. Looney, if you still have any respect for our 7 years together, sign the papers when we go to court. Quickly. Luna's voice trembled, her eyes wide with disbelief. Do you really have to be so heartless? 7 years of marriage. James, is it really going to end like this? And your mother's death, you can't put all that on me. Her time was already coming. I took a long breath, trying to keep my tone even. It's not about being heartless, Luna. You stopped taking this marriage seriously a long time ago. The day you ended our child's life without my consent. That was the day there was no going back. Memories bled in without permission. Julian's return. The way Luna suddenly seemed to orbit him instead of me. How she always found excuses to be alone with him. How her care for him was meticulous. Almost tender. I remembered calling her once, sick and exhausted from work, my body failing me. I asked her to come home. She told me she was having dinner with Julian, and to take care of myself. That silence on the line, that weight in my chest, it was the loneliest I had ever felt. There were so many moments like that, each one like a knife, carving away my trust until nothing was left. And then came the child. And that was the final blow. If Julian is what you mind so much, then don't, she said suddenly. He's dying, James, half a year, at most. Are you happy now? She straightened as if bracing for my answer, cheeks flushing with a mix of defiance and nerves. If I could, I would have let our child be born first, she pleaded. But Julian doesn't have that time. Can't you understand? You'll have to kill me before I divorce you. I almost laughed, half amusement, half exasperation. Luna, don't think being pregnant ties my hands. Once that baby is born, we'll do a paternity test. When the truth comes out, the judge will still grant the divorce. I left her there without looking back. Before the second trial, my lawyer presented the final piece of evidence. Luna couldn't run from it anymore. She admitted if the child was Julian's. Judge, what I did was a good deed, she shouted, her voice breaking. Why are you siding with James? Why can't any of you understand me? The room went silent. People stared at her like she was speaking a language no one wanted to hear. When I held the divorce certificate in my hands, it felt like my lungs finally filled after years of drowning. Luna, on the other hand, looked hollower, eyes vacant. Her smile twisted into something bitter. "I thought you'd always forgive me," she said, voice cracking. Tears blurred her gaze. I couldn't help the coldness in my reply. "Love isn't one-sided, Luna. No one should have to sacrifice everything for someone else." She wanted to say more, but I was already holding my phone, half turned toward the door. "I'm busy. I'm leaving." Maybe she still couldn't accept that I no longer orbited her world. It took me a week to pack up my life in shining the same city I once stayed in for her. I was now leaving because of her. As I folded away the last of my things, I found a tiny sweater my mother had knitted for the child who never came into this world. My hands shook. My vision blurred. The night before I left, I gathered my friends, people I hadn't been close to in years because of Luna. They hugged me, laughed with me, congratulated me like I had just been released from prison. Later, we ended up at Shining's most famous KTV, and that's where I saw him, Julian, the man who was supposed to be dying, draped around a young woman, laughing like the clock wasn't ticking for him at all. Our eyes met for a second. He blinked, startled, but then strolled past me with the arrogance of someone who thought he'd won. I thought, for a brief moment, about telling Luna, but then I remembered people choose their own fates, and some lessons you just have to let life teach them. Julian's voice cut through the hospital air like a knife, his tone dripping with arrogance. "Are you kidding me? I'm not a fool like James. Don't you get it? Life's short, you. Seize the day. Go home. Take care of my child. If anything happens to that baby, I'll hold you responsible." Even his parents, who once thanked Luna for standing by their son, turned on her in an instant. "What's wrong with a man having a little fun outside?" His mother snapped. "As long as he has you in his heart, that should be enough. Honestly, it's your fault Julian turned out this way. You never served him well." The words hit harder than any slap. Luna's anger boiled over, but before she could fight back, her body gave in. She was rushed to the emergency room, and the child was gone. 2 abortions in such a short time had left her with a permanent wound. She would never be a mother again. I could only sigh. I remembered when Julian first walked away from her, dismissing her because she came from nothing, running instead into the arms of a wealthy but plain-looking classmate. And then, when that woman tossed him aside and he saw Luna living well without him, he came crawling back. Luna, she never learned. She didn't listen when I warned her. There's a saying, what's more dangerous than a first love is a first love that comes back from the dead. And Julian, with only months left to live, had her heart in a chokehold. She cried herself to sleep every night for him. I knew then. I'd never meant as much to her as he did. And yet, he still found a way to hurt her. 2 months passed before I saw her again. The receptionist led me downstairs, and there she was surrounded by people. Luna stood in the wedding dress I had once bought her, a bouquet of roses in her hands. For a second, the scene overlapped with an old memory, her, smiling, asking me to marry her. She stepped forward through the crowd, eyes full of longing. "James, give me another chance. Let me love you again." I stayed silent. Then, to my shock, she dropped to one knee and held up a ring. "After everything, I realize you're the one I can rely on. I know I hurt you. Maybe too much to ever make up for, but for the sake of what we had, forgive me. Please marry me again." Her plea rippled through the onlookers. Strangers chimed in. "Son, she's fighting for you. Don't be so cold. In life and death, everything else is small. Seize the moment." They didn't know. They didn't know I'd lost 2 loved ones in a single day, and that the person now on bended knee was the cause. She wasn't confessing. She was cornering me, trying to use the crowd to cage me. "We're already divorced," I said flatly. "Thank you for realizing what I gave you, but it's too late." And then rain. Out of nowhere, the sky turned heavy, and drops slid down my face. The crowd scattered, leaving only the 2 of us in the empty square. We stood there, soaked to the bone. The bouquet in her hands sagged, petals slipping into the mud like our love. Beautiful once, now ruined beyond repair. "James, is there really no chance?" she asked, rain and tears running together. I paused, then nodded. "It's over. Let go of the past. Live your life." Something broke in her eyes. She sank into the mud, her wedding dress dragging like a ghost's shadow. My chest tightened once. We had loved each other beyond reason, but her betrayal had burned it all to ash. A voice cracked through the rain. You had an affair behind my son's back." Julian's parents stormed toward us, an umbrella in hand. Luna paled and darted behind me like a child seeking cover. His mother seized her arm, face twisted in rage. "Your husband is in a hospital bed, and you're here flirting with your ex." Julian's father stayed silent, but his eyes were knives. Luna whimpered, clutching my clothes. "James, save me. They want to take me back." I frowned, pulling out my phone to call the police, but his father smacked it from my hand. "This is our family matter. Stay out of it," he barked. I turned to Luna. "Do you want me to call them, Luna?" She hesitated, eyes darting to mine. "If this ends up at the police station, Julian will be crushed. Even now, after everything, she was worried about his feelings. I gave a bitter smile. All right then, I'll go. I slipped my hand free from Luna's grasp and turned toward the building's entrance. Her sobs chased after me, echoing in the hallway, but I kept walking straight into the elevator without looking back. Julian's parents took her back to Shinshan. Day after day, she fed him, wiped his body, even handled his most humiliating needs. Her own parents came to the hospital, furious, insisting she come home. You couldn't stand a little hardship with James, her mother scolded, jabbing a finger at her forehead. And now you're working like a free nurse. But Luna just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. What can I do? He won't divorce me. If I leave, he'll ruin me online. Let the world tear me apart. Her parents stormed out, leaving her to that small, dim room, serving Julian like a shadow. The day Julian died, she sent me a single text. She'd gone to the cemetery to visit my mother, apologizing over and over, wishing me happiness. I didn't reply. I deleted it. 3 years later, I came back to Shinshan with my wife, 5 months pregnant. We stood at my mother's grave, Isabella's hand resting gently on her belly. Mom, she whispered. James showed me the little clothes you knitted. They're beautiful. I brushed a loose strand of hair from her face. Mom, Isabella treats me well. You can rest easy. We were about to leave when we crossed paths with Luna. She froze, clutching a bouquet, her eyes fixed on the way Isabella's hand fit so naturally in mine. I guided Isabella aside. Careful, love. Mind your belly. Luna's eyes glistened. She walked past us into the cemetery, and I called after her. Thank you for visiting my mother so often. But she came to me in a dream. She said, "You're disturbing her." Luna stopped. A long silence, then a quiet, "All right. This is the last time." She never came again. And just like that, my mother's spirit found peace. She stopped appearing in my dreams. Until the day my child was born. That night, I saw her smiling, holding a small child in her arms, waving to me from a distance. Son, I'm taking this poor little one to be reborn. Take care of yourself.